Hey everybody, it's the OMAD Dad. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel that's dedicated to living the OMAD lifestyle, or eating just one meal a day. Today is a very special video because it marks my 3 years of being on OMAD. This video is actually a little bit late. I hit my 3-year mark last month, about the end of September, but things have been so chaotic and busy at work that I haven't really had a chance to post much, so I'm now going to be posting it, this video a week before my 41st birthday. But yeah, so today I want to talk about 3 years of OMAD, and more specifically, some of my changing perspective. Now, when I say my changing perspective, I don't want you to think that I've abandoned OMAD or I'm giving it up. That'll never happen. There are certain things about my particular plan and how I eat and how I do things that have evolved over these past few years. As I mentioned before on this channel, at first my goal was sticking strictly with no splurging into a very simple OMAD plan. You know, one meal within an hour on one plate, having one caloric drink and sticking to that and being done and over with. And I lost my weight pretty quickly with that, I would say, for what I needed to lose. It was about 8 or 9 months that it took me. And so after I did that, I then decided to take some time and do some experimenting. And I mentioned this before on this channel. I went and I took some time to experiment with different eating times, different eating windows, food combinations, you name it, all of these different little things, so I could find what exactly works for me and what works best for my particular plan, so that going forward, I now know exactly what works for me. And another thing I've had to kind of factor in is, like, once I turned 40 years old, it was like, bam, you know, it was like the door just shut in my face, and I've noticed some slowing in my body, things slowing down. And I remember working with somebody when I was in my 20s, and they had just turned 40, and they said, "Oh no, you wait until you turn 40. It's like everything just slows right down." And I thought that was hilarious. You know, you're a 20-year-old, you know everything. There's no way that could happen to me. I feel things slowing down a little bit. Am I out? No, definitely not. In fact, I've definitely stepped up the exercise game lately, just to keep myself going and keep myself from being bored in quarantines. My wife and I bought a treadmill for at home, and I've started competing in these virtual races, similar to, like if you did a 5K or a 10K or whatever you were going to do. Those road races, because of COVID-19, has been canceled. So there's a lot of these virtual races that are popping up online, and they're very fun. Some of them have different themes. Some of them, for the most part, donate the proceeds to charity, which is what I look for. I did one recently where I did a run, kind of like a fun run, 5K. It was wine themed. Run now, wine later, I think they called it. But there's other, some that support specific charities, and so I would definitely recommend checking it out. I've been doing that, and it's fun. And so now I'm training. I did the 5K, and now I'm training for the 10K, which is going to be one of the longest distances I've run yet. But it's going well. I'm not out of it by any means. So with that, let's get into what I call some of my changing perspectives. And there's a few things that I've kind of my practice has kind of evolved over these past few years. Number one is sugar. For me, while I would never give up sugar, and I'm not eliminating it entirely from my diet, I'm now taking the government guidelines and saying that my added sugar calories should be no more than 10% of my daily total calories. So it ends up being something like 24 grams of sugar a day. Some of the newer guidelines I'm hearing are saying that it should be no more than 6%. So that cuts me down to around, I think, 12 or 14 grams of sugar a day. I'm trying to go with the more extreme versions. So what does that mean? I'm looking for like more sugar-free desserts or low-sugar desserts. They make these MRE protein bars. They have these are I found these online and on Amazon, and my local vitamin shop has them. And when you want something that's a little bit sweet at the end of the meal, that also has added protein, doesn't have a huge amount of calories, but yet also has low sugar, but it doesn't taste like cardboard, I think these are a really good alternative. Other than that, I'm looking for more like sugar-free puddings and things like that. Mostly because I noticed that I just don't feel great after I'm done with sugar. I think, as I've said before, I do still think that sugar gets a bad rap in the obesity epidemic, but it does play a very integral part. It's not the entire thing. I think we, as a whole, our society is consuming way too much sugar. But we're also consuming way too many other things too. I mean, you have sugar that's addictive, but you also have a lot of processed foods which are really addictive. And your body is now screaming for nutrition. It's just this vicious cycle. So now I know you're probably going to say that sounds sort of contradictory to one of my previous videos called "How to Enjoy Junk Food" on OMAD. But the point I was really trying to make with that video, which I still believe in, is that if you're going to have a sugary treat, that's fine. Try to keep it to a minimum, especially if you're in the weight loss phase. Once you're into maintenance, you can have a little bit more flexibility, I feel, but when you're in the weight loss phase, when you're trying to slim down, keep that to a minimum. My whole point, though, of making that video was that, life is very short. It's fine if you want to enjoy these items, but if you're going to do so, do it in a controlled manner. Do it in a smart manner. Instead of going to the store and buying 2 boxes of Twinkies because they're buy one get one free, and it seems like a great deal. You have these things, all of these Twinkies now sit, and this is just an example, you have them all sitting in your pantry. There's probably about 2,400 calories worth of junk right there, just taunting you, looking at you every time you go over to your pantry to make something for your OMAD, all right? So instead, go to a convenience store, go to a gas station, buy the single packs. I mean, the grocery stores sell them too, but you buy these single packs of these items, you have your one treat, you have that, it fits nice on your plate, and then you're done. You walk away, and you don't have any more of that in your pantry. And it makes these convenience foods inconvenient. And that's a good thing, because now you're not going to be consuming them all of the time. So my stance on sugar has evolved a little bit. I myself have definitely cut back, and most days now I'm really not even having a dessert. If I have something sweet, as I said, I'm having one of those MRE bars, or I'm making something that's a little bit more of a low sugar alternative. Sometimes there's no really good alternative for an awesome chocolate chip cookie, or I don't know, maybe some creme brulee, but don't have those every single day. Have them be a rare treat, especially if you're in the weight loss phase. Your weight loss phase, you really should just hunker down and focus on sticking to a set plan, and just making it happen. My second is going to be maintenance versus the losing phase. So one thing I've noticed is that if you're in a losing phase, in my opinion, I really believe that you should stick to the OPAD variation. That's 1 plate a day of food. Fill the plate up. Don't have it heaping. Follow the guidelines I've said before on this channel for that variation. Don't have it. This is an average sized dinner plate. Don't have it billowing over the edges. Don't have it very, very high, over 3 inches. You're going to get plenty of calories in. It's going to be a nice full meal, but you should be functionally full to where you could walk away, still do things, and you're going to lose weight the fastest that way. Once you start getting into multiple plates, it's harder for you to keep track of everything without counting calories. I do recommend counting calories. I track what I eat every single day. Again, this is just my personal opinion on this, but if you're in the losing phase, stick to that. And then once you get into maintenance, you can have a few extra plates with you, so maybe a slightly larger OMAD. That's up to you. But when you get the results, you'll get fast results this way by doing how I recommend. And sometimes seeing faster results a little bit is motivating enough for people to where they want to keep going. When you get those the traditional diet where it's try and eat less but all of the time, and trying to do intense exercise along with it, people are just hungry all of the time, and it gets to be a little bit too much. But in my opinion, if you're on maintenance, fine, you could have a few plates. Again, there's always exceptions to the rule. I mean, if you're having a salad with your OMAD, but you're also having, say, stew, maybe you don't want the two commingling. Okay, and and that's where the calorie counting thing comes in, so that you count calories, you know exactly what you're going to have at your meal, so you're not going overboard. Because once you start scooping things on the plate, and you have multiple plates, it becomes that much harder for you to be able to keep track of it. Number 3 would have to be splurges. I'm a big fan, as you know, of OMAD Revolution channel. Joe, I had a video once where he said he regrets ever mentioning splurges, and I kind of understand his perspective. The thing with splurges is that you have to remember is that there's a difference between a splurge and a binge. A splurge is how I would define it, as doing something that's out of your norm that you would do while being on your OMAD plan. Now, that could mean you have 2 meals that day. It could mean that you have 3 meals that day. It could mean that you're just adding another component that you don't normally eat during your OMAD. How you define it is up to you. However, the difference between a splurge and a binge is that when you splurge, you're doing so in a controlled manner still. You're still having control. A binge is where you go off the rails, lose control, and just go crazy for that day. If that happens, and it may happen to you, it's going to take you a few days of recovery time to get you back to where you were. That's the difference of it. So it's fine if you're going to splurge and say, I'm going off OMAD today, I'm going to have 2 meals, or I'm going to have more calories than I know I probably should today at my 1 meal. That it's fine. Make sure you're in control though, and don't let it turn into a binge. Because as I said, a binge is where you've lost control. A binge is where you've gone nuts, and a splurge is just a little, something out of the norm. It's where you're remaining in control. And as I've said before too, I don't want people to think that splurge days are something that you have to do on this channel. If you choose to not do you choose not to do splurges, totally fine. But I do believe, at least for me, it kind of sets me back at least a few days. And it's kind of, once I have a splurge, I find where I'm eating a couple meals that day, and I would throw that in. I found it difficult for me to kind of get back into the swing. It took like a couple of days to get back into my rhythm of OMAD, and the whole point is that you want to try and get into a rhythm with this, and a procedure, so where you make it as simple as possible, so you make it easy as possible for you. So splurges, to me, I could pretty much leave them. I said before, I have really no use for splurges anymore. But that's just my changing perspective on that. Number 4 would be alcohol. I'll say this: you've seen pictures of what I eat in a day, and sometimes I'll have a glass of wine. That was while I'm in my, for the most part, while I'm in my maintenance phase. I think it's okay if you're going to have a glass of wine or some alcohol once in a while when you're in maintenance. If you're in a weight loss phase, I would ditch the alcohol completely. I've found that it really makes me feel like garbage. Especially if I have a somewhat higher carbohydrate meal, and when you think about it, how many great decisions have ever been made while you've had a drink? And I have a 5-ounce 5 or 6 ounce glass of wine when I do. I don't have a large glass of wine when I do drink. But that right there has about 125, 150 calories. So there are quite a few calories in just that little bit of alcohol. So it's something to consider, you know, even when you're on a maintenance phase. Now that, you know, I've been in maintenance now for quite some time, I've found that by cutting back on alcohol, it's actually helped me a lot. I actually had two glasses between 2 meals this week, which was the first time in almost a month since I've had any alcohol. But if, you know, again, these aren't hard set in stone rules. Ultimately, you're the boss of your particular plan. But to make it easier on yourself, especially when you're trying to lose weight in your loss phase, ditch the alcohol for a little while, make that temporary sacrifice. You might find out that you don't miss it, or that you feel better and you run better without it. Maybe you don't. I don't know. That's a decision for you to make. Sorry if my windshield wiper blades are making too much noise. I'm over here. It's kind of a rainy Tuesday, first day back to work. So, and then lastly is caffeine. I'm not a big fan of caffeine. Getting it out of my life is definitely as a positive. As you know, I gave up Diet Coke, which is loaded with caffeine. They do make a caffeine-free Diet Coke, but there is not a restaurant around here that would actually sell it to you. The reason that getting rid of caffeine takes some responsibility. I found for me that it just got me more irritable, and it made me more likely to drink caffeinated beverages throughout the day versus having the water that I was supposed to have. So there's that to consider. Another thing to consider too is you have to think about how caffeine works. Caffeine works by stimulating your adrenal glands, and your body ends up releasing cortisol. It goes through this stress response. It's literally putting your whole body into stress, and that stress that you're feeling, you feel that you think it's the caffeine and its magical chemicals making you feel better and more peppy, but actually what it's doing is causing extra stress on your body. And the issue with that is, you know, everything that you read nowadays is telling you you have to reduce stress in your life, you have to reduce stress in your life, yet none of them say you should reduce coffee or eliminate coffee and tea entirely. Now this is going to be a controversial one, I know, because that would lead pretty much just water for you to drink. Ultimately, water and having a straight water fast in between your OMADs is the best way to go. I know a lot of people out there are going to be watching. I'm probably going to get my hate mail for this, and they're going to say, hell no, I'm not giving up my teas, I'm not giving up my coffee. That's a decision that you have to make. This is just something that I've observed in myself, that over these past 3 years, I'm of the attitude of, if it's not working for me, then it's going to be eliminated. You know, it just like if you have a rogue employee in your company, and they're just doing their own thing, they're no longer serving the purpose of the company, that employee needs to be terminated. Well, that's how I'm looking at it now with my diet and my lifestyle is, and caffeine was definitely not working for me. I will say it takes some responsibility on your part. You have to go to bed at night, which is what you should be doing. You have to go to sleep on time at night and make sure you're getting your 8 hours. And there's going to be some days, if you don't sleep well, you're going to be dragging the next day. But for me, I had to give up. Giving up caffeine as a whole definitely works out better. Well, and that's it for me, folks. Kind of a long video today, but I just wanted to share with you some of my evolving thoughts about my 3 years on OMAD, and maybe they can make your years on OMAD go by that much smoother too. Most importantly, I want to thank you guys for being here with me on this journey through the years and supporting my channel, and by subscribing and watching, and all of the great comments and questions that I've been getting. Keep them coming. I love hearing from them. I love seeing how OMAD has affected you and changed your life, and I'm glad to be a part of it in whatever way I can. So I'm going to sign off for today. Let me know how your OMAD journey is going in the comments below. Have a great day, a very great week. Happy OMAD, and be well.